Everything seemed like everything was good. I'm home now, trying to settle down. It was probably a couple weeks later when everything started to calm down that you really realize something was not right. I don't know if many people know, but when you're overseas at war, your gun, your rifle is with you 24/7. So I started to notice some things when I wake up in the morning and at night that I couldn't figure out. I was confused. I come from a high stress area, always adrenaline driven, to relaxation, no adrenaline rush, nothing. So I found myself waking up in the mornings, and I would pace around my room or around my house for it seemed like an hour or so, looking for something. I knew I was missing something. I was frustrated. I couldn't figure it out. And then one day I walk over to my closet where I got my guns at, and I see my AR-15 sitting there that I owned, and I picked it up, and man, it just felt like warm and fuzzies just went all over me. It's just like, oh, this is what I was missing. If you wake up in the morning, you're in Iraq, and your rifle's not there, all hell breaks loose. It's with you 24/7. It sleeps with you. It goes with you. You go to the bathroom with it. You take a shower with it. So that overwhelming feeling of me not having that with me, knowing there was something missing, was just incredible. So I found myself carrying a rifle, around my house every now and then, and just having it to where I could see it so I could feel comfortable. I didn't have a lot of bad dreams when I first came back. I had a couple, and they were pretty vivid. The one that bothers me the most to this day, I remember, it was just very clear. And I was sleeping in bed with my wife, and it was probably through, 2 or 3 weeks when I got back from Iraq. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and I elbowed her in the back of the head, and I was getting ready to come back to elbow her again, and I woke up, and she said something that woke me up, broke me out of it, and I started crying. I was upset. Couldn't believe that this was happening, that I even had that. You don't think you're going to have these dreams. You hear these people having all this stuff, and when you do something like that and you hit your loved one, you don't know what you're capable of at that point. So then I knew that I needed to start getting back in touch with God myself. So at that point, I wasn't going back to church yet. I believed in church. I believed in God. I grew up in church, but there were so many different views and thoughts that I had about church at the time that I didn't want to go to a church for them to tell me that I was wrong. So I started praying a lot on my own and seeking God myself. I started to be able, for a while, it took me a while to talk about things and just let things out. I kept it bottled up. Me and my wife at the time would argue all the time. She was still living in Canada. I got to spend some time with her when I come back from Iraq, and then I went back to North Carolina where I was stationed at. And during our long-term relationship and everything, we'd argue, and just things were going on that, no excuses for the attitude and the way that I was at the time, but just I was trying to decompress, and I needed an outlet. I got married, became part of Havelock Police Department, and every one of the guys there were vets. So I found myself being able to talk more, and I didn't have any more PTSD problems. I wasn't having bad dreams. I found myself able to talk about what I was doing and what I did, and it just made things a whole lot better. I found a church, started going to church. I had a son, two loves of my life, my wife and my son. I had a family, and then church tied everything in. It just started to work out for us. Me and my wife are getting along better. All of home life was better, and our humbleness was back together again. I decided I wanted to work for the U.S. Forest Service as a federal law enforcement officer, and I applied for another position with that. The only position they had was in California. It was more money. I didn't really need the extra money. I just wanted the job experience, more drug work, stuff like that. And I got blessed again, and I got that job. They sent me off to California in August of last year. I came up here by myself without my family. I was here until February of this past year, where my family finally joined me. Again, we found ourselves in a place where we didn't know where we were at, or where we were going. We were lonely, and we were looking for a church. One day, our friends brought us to Bayside Auburn, where we came to the service, and it was just like our church at home. They invited us in, were very nice, and brought my family together, and we've been coming ever since. It's a beautiful church. My family now is good. My wife and me are getting along fine. We have our ups and downs. I still deal with some things since Iraq. It's getting better, and I'm starting to talk to my wife a little bit more, but it's still been tough. I've got barriers and walls to make it through, but now that I'm here at Bayside Auburn, I've got a family that I can talk to. So that's my story. For better or worse, that's me. Thanks for listening.